The evil weed. Okay, the evil weed is not so evil anymore as long as it's done responsibly. It's okay. Oh, okay. Now we're recording. So 4 aspects. The 3rd and the 4th are called what? Zeranpin and Malchut, right?
Right.
You're in a dark room. You're sitting there in the dark going, oh, the sun just came up like a half hour ago. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read.
Okay.
We're talking about, let me just introduce to people who will be watching the recording or might, talking about the 4 aspects of creation. Well, really, it's more than creation. These are stages that happen even before creation. What does that mean? I mean, for creation of the physical world is one thing, but there are worlds beyond worlds and worlds within worlds. What is a world? A world is a space which contains. It could be a physical space, it could be an emotional space, it could be an intellectual space, it could be a whatever spiritual space means. The word spirituality has lost its meaning more or less. Wouldn't you say, Eliakim? Yeah.
You're the teacher.
It's okay. As Eliakim said, I want to listen. I don't want to be involved. Okay. So no, everybody could have an opinion.
Maybe
I just found opinions and found them off as facts.
Okay, maybe it lost half its
I
meaning,
say
but
facts.
not all its
Other
meaning.
people say facts and they found them off as opinions. Nah, it doesn't usually work that way. So there's 4 letters in God's name: Yud He Vav He. If you don't know the form of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet, I refer you to go on Google and do Hebrew alphabet and look at the Asheritic script. And I'd have to get up to draw it for everybody, but actually I have a nice printed version. 1 second. There's a way to put this document in. Why does it look backwards? Does it look backwards to you?
No.
Oh, to me, that's because of me, I see. So first letter is called Yud. We're going from left to right. No, from right to left, right? No,
Right
left to
left.
right. How do you read Hebrew again?
Right to left.
Okay.
Right to left.
I just learned that. I was studying Hebrew for years. And then I was doing really poorly. You know, people never understood me and I couldn't read and I went to doctors, so I was dyslexic, whatever. Eventually, after a few years, I went to a big expert and he said, well, what's the problem? I said, well, I'm reading it from left to right, right? And he says, no, okay. Yes, I laugh at my own jokes. The reason why I laugh at my own jokes is if nobody else is laughing, at least somebody's laughing. So the first letter on the right hand side is the Yud, and that's it has little points on the top. And we learn all kinds of things from these forms of the letters based on the Kabbalah going back to Abraham, or perhaps even Adam. I have a book on that if you want to, called The Introduction to the Beit Yaakov and Sefaria.org. Go to www.sefaria, that's S-E-F-I-S-C, how do you spell it again? SCFIARIA.com or org.org.
SEFA.
Sefaria.
Sefaria.
F-A.
Sefaria.
Oh, great. We all graduated from 3rd grade here. Sefaria.org. And that's it's all Jewish books in Hebrew and English. But the Bible, all the books of the spirituality, all the books of the Jewish canon, the Bible, the Talmud, Mishnah, and Talmud's Mishnah and Gemara, right, from 2,000 years ago. And then we have all the Rishonim, which are the rabbis and scholars, the Torah scholars, from like 700 to 800 to 1,300, 1,1300. Then we start the Acharonim. They're in Spain, and where were they? In Germany and Spain is where the main Jewish communities were. In France, those are called the Rishonim. The Talmud was in Babylon. The Bible was in Israel and Babylon and all around the place. And Egypt, And what's after, and then it goes to the Acharonim is the later scholars. The Rishonim are the earlier Torah scholars. The Acharonim are the later Torah scholars, which brings us up to Eliakim Kingslinger, who was one of the last of the Acharonim. And there's also a Kabbalistic tradition. So the question is, where do we get this stuff from? And it's a tradition passed on from master to disciple to the present day. There's a transmission of Kabbalah. Kabbalah means to receive. But we're not going to learn Kabbalah here. Rabbi Avraham Brandwein of blessed memory, who was Eliakim's Rebbe here in whatchamacallit, what's the city called again? Oh, Jerusalem. Are you awake?
Yes.
Okay. So you're gonna fall asleep.
Oh.
Anyhow, so and he said that we don't learn in our Beit Midrash, in our study hall, we don't learn Kabbalah. We learn Hasaga. Hasaga means Kabbalah is to receive, but it's not just enough to receive. It says, well, now what we're learning is, you receive it, and then you could, you received it, but you might forget it. I don't know. It's received, and it's not as strong as saying hasaga. Hasaga is when you mesig is to apprehend, in not literally, but to own it, acquire it. Lasig. Lasig means to acquire. That's yours. So why we're not learning Kabbalah? What? Because we want to understand, not just to understand, but to internalize. So what are we internalizing? Godliness, light and vessels, receiving and bestowing goodness and light.
Awesome.
So there are 4 aspects.
Lahasig. Lahasig.
Lahasig.
Lahasig.
In the old books, they say hasagot. There's a lot of the Hasidic writings of the great Hasidic masters and Hasidic thought call it hasagot. And the Rebbe has a hasaga. And now that everybody is a little bit of a Rebbe, if they have a revealed soul, you're a Rebbe. A Rebbe has done the inner work and is chosen to be a leader and is the one who teaches the community, but it's not that. He's like the prophet for the community. Rebbe. So the Kabbalists were the Chachamim, and then the Isaac Luria, and then eventually the Baal Shem Tov came along, and then you have Rebbes. And the real Rebbes are like angels. The Amshinov Rebbe is like a Malach Hashem Tzvakot. He's an angel of the Lord of Hosts. The man doesn't sleep. The man he stands 8 hours on his feet praying every day. And he stops the clock. He the clock stops with him. And he manages to remain more or less normal. When you meet with him, he's very lucid and he's very clear, and he can point you to the right doctor. But when he's davening, it's the light. You can see the light around the room. So, but we didn't hear to talk about. It's not about venerating great man, venerating these. Whoa, my Rebbe is blah blah blah. Here we're just trying to understand the concepts. So the first aspect is with the light coming from God, the infinite, the Ein Sof, which literally translates the without end. And first there's everything is endless light, and then God was lonely. So he created a will to receive. God was just giving, just light. What is light? Because that's the question that Rabbi Ashlag asked. What is light? Light is wisdom, bestowing. I feel, you say, why is that? Athena, the god of light, No, which one was the god of light? God of wisdom was Athena, Lahavdil, to make a separation between the sacred and the profane. They used to, even the ancient Greece, they talked about illumination was about light, about wisdom. A light bulb goes on when you have an idea, right?
Right.
When it's dark. It's like, and again, we talked about a lot about last time about the root language and the branch language. You want to say something about that?
No, you can say it.
Okay, but you know what I'm talking about. Just turn.
Yeah, I'm not for sure. I know the concept.
You remember that? Okay.
I know the concept.
The branch we talk about the branch language. An example of the branch language is that God's light. God has light. It is beyond that physical thing. God has. What does it mean? The Arizal. We said that in the first class that the Arizal, Rabbi Isaac Luria, the author of the Kabbalah, the modern Kabbalah 400 years ago, he's the first modern Kabbalist. Rabbi Isaac Luria, we call the Arizal, he would say words like drawing, up, got it, up, the upper worlds, the lower worlds. He talked about width, the Sefirot, the 10 Sefirot, they have a width about them, meaning one's on the left, one's on the right. And then there's up and down, high and low. And we have the 10 Sefirot. If you don't know about the 10 Sefirot, this class is not for you. I'm not going to explain what a Sefirah is. I'm not going to explain what a Partsuf is. I'm not going to explain what right now, I'll do it now. And see, eventually can't have new people coming in because I don't have to explain every time. So Partsuf is 10 Sefirot in an anthropomorphic form of right, left, and middle columns with 3 triads. And a Sefirah is light and vessel, a vessel that contains light and emits light. And Partsuf, and their worlds, which what was the world again, Eliakim?
A world is, there's Yitzira, Bria, Asiya, and Atzilut.
Yeah, we don't want to talk in those terms right now. Well, we will, actually, but I said, I wanted to see if you were listening earlier, because I said what the definition of a world. The world is the space that contains. That's the way Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz, of blessed memory, wrote in his book, Inner Space. If you want books on Kabbalah, don't go to the Kabbalah Center, and don't go to some crystal healer in Japan or whatever, or California more likely. So California always gets the rap, but now so that might be nice. I'm not knocking it. I'm saying, but for the real deal, for the authentic Kabbalah, first of all, I have to know Hebrew, and we're explaining something that is based entirely on authentic Kabbalah in explaining it. So the world, Rabbi Steinsaltz says this space that contains, and he's a book called The 13-Petaled Rose. That's the reading of this class, and also Inner Space by Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan. You can go to my YouTube, Betzalel Edwards, Betzalel 153 at YouTube. youtube.com/betzalel153. That's BETZALEL 153. And you can find many Torah classes where I recite, I just read these books like books on tape from Aryeh Kaplan, and also my Facebook page, Betzalel Philip Edwards, BETZALEL Philip Edwards with one L. They're all public. It's all public. And so there's a lot of material there. So last year we were concentrating on Rabbi Ashlag. Now, who is Rabbi Ashlag? Rabbi Ashlag was from Warsaw, and around 1900 or so, maybe before. And he went to Israel, and then he went to London in 1920s, and he wrote a commentary on the Arizal, his book called the Eitz Chaim. The major work of the Arizal is the Eitz Chaim. The Eitz Chaim means the tree of life, and it's the key to modern Kabbalah. There's no other Kabbalah. I mean, there are, but stay away from them. That's the source of, well, at least Jewish Kabbalah. Some people are under other faiths. I don't know. I'm saying that I'm inviting everybody in the world to learn this one kind, and you can't. It's not that the other ones aren't true. It's just we're focusing on a tradition that was passed down from master disciple back from Moses. Okay. And there were true traditions that went out to the east in India, and there are true traditions that went into Christianity and went into Islam, but they got mixed in with some other traditions which we do not consider true. I don't want to get into the subject of the truth, but we're talking authentic. We can verify the authenticity of what we are receiving, and the other ones may or may not be authentic if they agree. And if they don't, we can agree to disagree. Okay, so we need to get one student from every continent, or perhaps even every country. That's the idea. Maybe 70. We're shooting for 70, and that will take maybe 70 years to get that. So we have Nafis, who's going to be joining us from Bangladesh. We have Parisa from Iran, and we have Philippa English, where I don't know where she is now. She wasn't feeling well, from Brittany in France, and we have Eliakim in Manhattan. And who else do we have? Who else showed up? There's a few people in the West Coast, and Anarella might be coming from Brazil. We'll see. She was there once, I think. So, but we need people who will be dedicated to waking up at 7 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon in Israel, or whatever time it is. So Eliakim has been doing this for a while, so he's very consistent. But we can't repeat everything over and over again. So I'm going to stop the review here. The world is a space which contains, and there are spiritual worlds. Roughly, we're talking about emotional or intellectual. And again, there's just the motion. There's the mashal hagufani. Mashal hagufani in Hebrew is the physical parable, anthropomorphic. So the mashal, this world is all a parable. The real world is above, and it needs this world down here to complete it. Doesn't, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Is it true? It's the greatest philosophical question ever. Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz, blessed memory, asked this question. And he said, there's a little hill in England. This is a plaque. And today you can go there and it says, Jack and Jill went up this hill. And maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Who knows? Not bloody likely. There probably was a Jack and Jill went up a hill. And probably there was water there, but it's any normal person would say it's a story. But it can be true on the level of a story. On the level of a story, it's also true. So this world is the story, and the upper worlds are the solution, the moral of the story. The what's another word for it? The key. So we travel up to the infinite, the Ein Sof, and that's the first aspect. So we cannot talk about God We cannot talk about the Ein Sof. You can't talk about God. God is the Ein Sof. He's totally beyond any capacity for a human being to comprehend. It's like you want to think about God. Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan says, try thinking about nothing. If you can now, I closed my eyes and I tried to think about nothing, and what I had is the hum of the refrigerator. So that there's already something. So for a second, I was thinking about just the hum of the refrigerator. So the nothing, Ein Sof, Ein means nothing. So the ayin is nothingness. So you can only talk about God's manifestations. That comes from the Bible. It says, El Rachum v'Chanun Erech Apayim Rav Chesed Emet. You with me, Eliakim?
Yep.
So that's God's manifestations, his attributes. Merciful, compassionate, jealous, truth, guarding truth for 1,000 generations, guarding kindness for 1,000 generations. When do you remember? I'm not sure. When did Moses receive the 13 attributes of God, the compassion?
The second time he went up.
Okay, the second time he went up, Moses went up to the mountain twice. First time he received the Torah, 10 commandments. He went back, and what happened? The children of Israel were worshiping the golden calf. That's the whole story. And then, so Moses broke the tablets and threw them down. And there was a big, they exacted vengeance on those who worshipped idolatry. And then God, after the war, God forgave, and Moses went up a second time, and he received the second set of tablets. And then up on that second vision in Mount Sinai, in the Sinai desert, he received these 13 attributes of God. And that's so that God has attributes: compassionate, merciful, truth, guarding, loving kindness for 1,000 generations. And avon nefesh v'chata. He raises up sin, meaning he erases sin. He considers sin on the scale. Raising sin, what does it mean? Noseh chesed lalafim. He raises sin for 1,000 generations for those who do good deeds. And I forget how it goes. You got to look at it up there. Noseh chesed lalafim. And he can erase all kinds of any kind of iniquity, but he's going to exact punishment eventually for our sins. So God has the 10 attributes of the Sefirot are also godliness. That's coming. That's the first aspect, is just wisdom. That's giving. What were you saying?
I just continued the phrase.
What?
Of the 13 attributes.
You want to read it? Oh, Anarilla, yeah. Who's on Zoom? No, you're on Zoom. Where's Anarilla? Okay. See if Anarella can join in. Noseh avon. What does that mean? Noseh avon. Bears. Bears iniquity. Suffer are all. Hey. Hi.
Hello.
How are you going? How are you feeling?
I am here. I am okay. I was working. I was in a meeting in WhatsApp.
Okay, we're live on Zoom now, and we're with me and Eliakim in Manhattan. And you're a very important part of this group. Do you have time now?
No, I would like so much to be part in the meeting, but I am in the middle of my job now.
Yeah, okay. So we'll find a time. So let me know a time. Maybe we could reschedule. It's can be flexible because the people who we have to find the best time we can all meet. So maybe think about when it could be. It's 20 minutes to an hour. It could be shorter or longer. Okay.
At 11, in 20 minutes for I am having another meeting.
I'm saying, think about, Anarella, I have to go. Just think about when a good time during, if you want, once a week, a good time that would be good to meet.
Okay.
Okay.
So have a nice afternoon, I think, for you, or evening.
Yeah, okay.
And thank you for calling.
Sure, be well, bye. Okay. Second aspect. First aspect is just giving. Then how does the second aspect come about? You want me to say, or do you want to say?
Second aspect doesn't want to receive.
No, the second aspect is receiving.
Yeah, he doesn't want to receive.
Bina, it's called Bina, understanding. Chokhmah is wisdom, that's just giving, illuminating light. But this, what good is it if it has nothing to receive from? Why did God create the world? Because he needed somebody to receive his light, his wisdom. So create and creation are on the level of Bina, understanding. Why Bina? Because Bina is like Boneh. The letters Bina form Boneh, building. Bet Nun Yud, Bet Nun Boneh. Bina is Bet Yud Nun He. Also as Bet Nun He is Bana, meaning to build. Binyan is a building. Bet Yud Nun. Okay. Binyan Yud Nun. So Bet. So it's building a vessel that could receive. And how does he do that? How does God create? Does God in his infinite wisdom, does he have a will to receive?
No.
No. So what did he do?
He created it.
How did he? So what is it? But what is the term? The proper terminology? He created something. What?
He created something from nothing. He created.
Yeah, we call that ex nihilo.
Ex nihilo.
Yesh, or Hebrew, yesh me'ayin. There's a lot of Hebrew terminology here. We're working on translation and how to translate this Kabbalah. It's kind of hard to have it for advanced and beginners. But those of you who can read will read and translate, and those of you who can't will listen and think about questions and try to understand the concepts. So creation ex nihilo is yesh me'ayin. So that's the will to receive, but he doesn't mention that as that right so far as I've seen in the introduction here. Rabbi Ashlag says, we're going to go back and I'm going to translate everything again, line by line. There are 5 aspects. Okay, 4 is, again, there's a development here. Somebody told me you don't teach beginners this introduction because he kept getting better and better and refining, restating what he said and correcting what he said as his life progressed. So, but I've read, I'm not an expert, but I've read the other introductions, and I've been around enough to know that you're the one I want to go through time with if I could keep time in a bottle. So, Hine Hashem Havchanot Gedolot Yesh Sefirot. There are 5 aspects, but he means there are. Why? Because we said, graphically speaking, where's the picture of God's name? That your first yud has a little thorn on the top. You see it? And so that's the infinite. Why is that so small? Because you can't even see it. It's coming out of something we completely beyond. It's will. That's pure, undifferentiated will, which is finally somewhat not even concretized, but in the first level of revelation and creation, it's created. It's not even created. Wisdom is not created. Wisdom is the light of the Ein Sof, the light of wisdom coming out. So the second aspect has 3 stages to it. The first stage is just it's part and parcel of wisdom. That is to say, there's a giant mountain made of iron or rock or whatever, and you separate a rock from that big mountain, or however big, you cut it in half or separate a little rock from the huge mountain. Doesn't matter. There were one, and now there are two. So there was a one entity or two entities. Ponder that. So that's the first aspect of Bina. The Bina is again the first Hey in God's name. And
That was me.
second aspect of Bina is, remember from last time? Okay, so second aspect in Bina, it's called Gevura Ila'a. How do you translate that? Or you didn't want to speak. You want me to stop asking you questions?
Yeah, the upper boundary.
No, boundary. Don't translate it like boundary.
Oh,
Gevura,
the
just
upper
say strength. Just say, sorry, I'm getting excited. Gevura, strength. That's it. Yalla. The reason, you see, you're advanced, so you know what a translation that interprets. Because Gevura, I don't know if Samarov says boundaries, but I'm not Samarov, okay? So yes, it's true. The whole making boundaries is on the left side, which is Gevura. So the Rabbi Soloveitchik, the Rav of the United States, of best memory, he said that, what's Gevura? How did he explain Gevura? Gevura is bravery, it's strength, it's going forth in battle. No, Rabbi Soloveitchik says we usually think of it as active. However, he gives an example. So it describes thorns around the belly of the beautiful bride, the shepherd girl in the Song of Songs. So what are these thorns? I forget exactly which verse he bases on, but he gives an example of a parable of let's say it's already happened, something that has happened. It's not exactly a parable, so it's an urban legend. It definitely happens. The first night, they wait a whole year for the couple to get married. They got engaged, and they waited a whole year before they were intimate with each other. And then there's the wedding, wonderful wedding, and the wedding night, and they've been looking forward to this moment. And the woman says to the man, I found, and it's forbidden in Jews, it's forbidden for man and woman to cohabit if she is menstruating and has not yet purified herself from the menstruation and is clean from blood. So she doesn't, so finally she's prepared herself, she's counted 7 clean days, and then immersed herself in the mikveh, and she goes, and he's been waiting for a whole year to be with his wife. And then she says that in the bedroom, she says, I found a drop of blood as small as a mustard size. So the will of the Chatan to refrain from the relations, that's called Gevura. So that's the boundary. Correct. But we're not talking, when you say boundary, we're already in another subject already. Boundary, there's a barrier there's a barrier called the wall of the vessel, the masach, the screen divider, that the light bounces off from. But that's again, when we just translate, in professional translation, you use one word, and you have a footnote which explains different aspects of it, but we're just going to stick to Gevura Ila'a as the upper Gevura, upper strength, sorry. The power to hold back, correct. Boundary, correct. But we just say strength, okay? Upper strength. So the second aspect is when Start again. The first aspect, when we recap what we did last time, the first aspect is the light of the essence, which is the sum total of the light from the endless, may he be blessed, the Ein Sof, which is found in the emanation, in this emanation, and that's the main point, that's the main kind. The main entity is wisdom, okay? That's the light of the essence. That's the main point of everything is that essence. And that's to say that there's no lower element taking part in this whatsoever. That's called the light of the wisdom of the direct light. Okay, should I say it again?
No.
Okay. Second aspect is wisdom of the direct light. That's the first thing we can even talk about. Second aspect is the light of kindness, which is drawn from above to below, which is that kind of light. There can be some kind of involvement or joining together with it from the what is below. And what is that? That's when the low what is finally something that is lower wakes up and a kind of strength. And he says that's a strength in there's a matzil and the natzal. The matzil is the emanator and the natzal is the emanation. And the reason why he says that is because the world of Atzilut, so the world of nearness, the world of, we call it the world of emanation. The truth is it's better to try to translate the world of nearness because it's where it's completely connected to the infinite and but it's already not the infinite. That's called Atzilut. And so the active force of wisdom, of bestowing and giving and wisdom going forward it hits that barrier, correct, which we call but he doesn't use the word barrier here. There's no possibility to join, well, it's in the first aspect, but the idea of joining is only in the second aspect. Second aspect, again, is the light of kindness, which is drawn from above to below. That kind of light, so it goes, there's already, okay, this is not, again, the problem with reading this here is he's leaving out a lot of key elements. So when there's an address to receive the light, that's called the natsal. The first aspect has the wisdom of the direct light, and then the second aspect, you have the light of understanding that is being drawn, which is we call the light of kind. In the bina is okay. First of all, he recently says or bina in the second aspect when he was just talking about the light that drawn from above is the light of kindness. Okay, the first aspect is bestowing the light of wisdom. Second aspect is drawing the light of kindness. How do we make the jump from drawing? What's missing in the middle, Eliakim?
Drawing from missing in the middle?
First, God, the first aspect is just bestowing the light of wisdom. What do we call it? The wisdom of the direct light. The direct light of wisdom.
Okay, or yeah, sure. Okay.
The second aspect, who says the light of kindness, which is drawn from above to below, passive. Ma'atzil, natsal. Sorry, mamshich or nimshach. Mamshich is to extend.
Emanate.
No, mamshich, to continue. Emanate is ma'atzil. Ma'atzil is out to emanate. moshech is to draw, but mamshich is passive, to be drawn. No, it's active. Mamshich, he draws the water from the well. No, mamshich continues. Whom mamshich et ze? He continues this. Whom mamshich et shiur? Who mamshich et shiur? He continues the class. So nimshach is drawn. So the second aspect has ability to receive, because that rock has been separated from the mountain, and it's a separate entity, which is called the will to receive. The second aspect. We call that second letter in God's name, Hey, which you said before, and we call that Bina, understanding. The third aspect is also the light of kindness. But that's different. It's the light of kindness that goes from below to above. The first and the second aspect, once there's some there's beta, alpha testing, beta testing, and then so it's a beta testing type thing, right? It's not out on the market yet, right, Eliakim? Is that the way they talk about it? Beta testing?
In what language?
In the language of Marcom.
Yes.
It hasn't gone on the market yet. It's being beta tested. That's the second aspect. Or the third aspect even. Alpha testing, that's up in the second aspect. Okay, why not in the first? Because it's just not even being tested. That's just the idea coming. Concretizing it is in the second aspect. And concretized enough that it's alpha tested, and you can really work with it a little bit. How does it do that? It overcomes itself, mitgaber, overcomes its nature and wants to be like God, be like the upper aspect, which is all giving. So there's this force of transformation in the second aspect, but there's, again, in the second, in Bina, there's three aspects. One is when it's completely part of the wisdom. When Bina, understanding, is completely part of Chochmah, wisdom, they're inseparable. The mountain and the stone are one. Second is when there's an awakening in Bina, understanding, to be separate, to be like, I want to be like God. I want to give. I'm separate. I'm a separate entity. It says, I'm separate, but I want to be like God and give also. That's later. No, that's later. The second aspect is the light of Bina, which is being drawn. That it draws. What's it? We talked about that last time. There's an adjoining when the light, there's the second aspect, the Bina can join together with Chochmah. Can't join together in the first aspect because Bina is not even there. There's no will to receive. When there's a reception, there's a possibility to join together. Third aspect, and the second aspect the second aspect has the light. What kind of light is in that vessel? That's the light of kindness, which is drawn from above to below. There is in the third aspect, it's a refinement of that second aspect. There's more, wants to gain more. Then there's the union strike is in the third aspect, where light goes up, light is just giving. Creation ex nihilo, Bina, reception. Bina is separate now. So that's the second aspect in Bina. Third aspect in Bina is it gives back and draws, it wants to receive more, and it draws the light of kindness from above. That's the third aspect in Bina. So then the fourth general aspect is the light of the upper strength. That is to say, the second aspect is the thickness of understanding, the thickness, the substance of understanding which it acquired when it woke, when it was overwhelmed. Not overwhelmed, itgabrut. What does it mean, litgaber, Eliakim?
I don't know, man, giver.
It comes from the root gever, correct, but litgaber, overpower, overcome, strengthen itself, to wake up, to do something. You gird your loins. The soldier is girding his loins in the Bible, like whatever, and you get your backside in gear. That's litgaber. The expression used is to overcome one's desires. So like Shlomo Karlbach, Yachad wit. You know Yachad? Do you know Yachad?
Yeah.
Yachad, when he was 14 years old, he's walking down the street with Shlomo Karlbach in the old city. Shlomo Karlbach, so he sees this little, Yachad was this little guy in a Hasidic in the Amshinover, mentioned Amshinover Rebbe twice today. The Amshinover Rebbe's yeshiva in Bayat Vegan in Jerusalem, a Hasidic school. And, he was, the long pass, it's these, they just want to be connected to God and do mitzvot and serve God with joy. And in one of the branches of this, there's a certain sect called the Amshinovers, and they are Hasidic, Polish Hasidic group. And so this student in the Amshinover yeshiva named Witt, he says to Shlomo Karlbach, Reb Shlomo, how does a Jew miskaber alatayvus, miskaber alatayvus? How would you translate that?
What word?
Miskaber alatayvus, litgaber alatavot.
Overpowering desires.
Overcoming his desires. Overcoming his desires. Shlomo said, I don't have a desire for my diapers anymore. That is all. Changed his life. You heard those words, changed his life. And Yachad never wore diapers again. No, that's my own. Okay. No, those words, you think about it, like, I have a desire to eat. I gotta eat, I gotta eat. And then at one point, if I mature, and if reaching, just by maturing, you get to the point where you no longer, you learn how to eat. Something people do all their life. But he was saying it's possible. Somebody, don't think it's impossible. He was reading the subtext. 14-year-old guy, I'm filled with desire. How do I overcome my desires? And be a chassid, be a, how do you say chassid in English? A Jew who goes above and beyond the law of the Torah to serve God and to be a good person. Finally, Philippe is here. And he says, Shlomo Karlbach said, don't think it's impossible. He just skipped the stages. He said, first of all, you could read into it that it's part of the process of maturation. The second thing you can read into it is it's possible, just like Philippa would. Hello. Just like Philippa's son got to the point where he didn't need his diapers anymore. He was toilet trained, right? That's called litgaber ala ta'avot. to overcome one's desires. And so too, later in a person's life, they learn how to eat and they learn how to handle money. They learn how to tame their sexual appetites. And they don't, not everyone learns how to do it, but it's all possible. It's all part of maturation. Hi, Philippa, how's it going?
Okay, just
We're discussing the word hitgabrut.
okay. Thank you. I'm sorry I was late. I had technical issues with rebooting everything.
Okay, wait a second. I have a ruler here. Put out your hand. Boop, boop. Okay. I'm not a nun. It's okay. I don't rap the kids on the knuckles with a ruler like they did to my father when he was in, whatever. It's a great way to get you to hate your religion, is just to be mean. Anyhow, it happens in Jewish schools a lot too. It's not, we're not so different in a lot of these human failings. No, it's not like we Jews are any better than anyone else. We're just the superior race, that's all. Anyhow, so no, it's not like that. It's just one overcomes a desire, anger. You can overcome your desire to get angry or your lack of control. But in the second aspect, there's the first hitgabrut. In the second aspect, there's the first where it can overcome its desire to what? To receive. And but overcut also, there's also hitgabrut is also to overcome, and also to, what was the other translation there, Kim? I forgot already. Mitgaber, to overcome, to mitgaber. Let's use Google Translate for the lack of a better. It's not so bad to Google Translate, right? Share screen. Share. Hebrew to Welsh, no, thank you. I had my 4th Welsh lesson. Ivrit to Anglit. Increase, mitgaber is increase. See now other possibilities. Where are all the other possibilities? Change to English. Overcoming, hitgabrut. In other versions, increase, strengthen. So here's the word hitgabrut. Philippa, can you read those letters? It's very important.
Hey.
That's right.
I struggle to get in my head.
Okay. All answers are correct. Just say whatever you want. Hey, and then?
Can I look it up or not?
Okay, what's the last letter?
It's the same.
No, the first a hey, and then the second one looks different. It's a tav.
Okay.
And there's a gimel.
Yeah, I knew that one, and I know bet. And I don't know the next one, and I know vav.
Okay, and there's a tav at the end. The last letter in the alphabet is tav.
So can we go through that again, or can I look it up? Or
Just you want to draw can you draw those 6 letters, 7 letters? 6 letters. 7 letters, sorry. You can draw each letter.
okay.
First one is hey. Ha. Hey, hey. I'm mitgaber on my desire to smoke. Tav, T-A-V. Gimel,
Yeah.
Resh, Vav, and Tav. The bet is actually a vet here, but in the word, it should have a dot in the middle. There's a bet and a vet. Or bet, you say bet, letter bet, bet, the letter bet. Aleph bet, not bet. Bet is what you do in a casino. And a bait is what you put on the hook of the fish. So you see the bet looks like a little fishing rod, and there's a fish down there. Bait. Resh, that's wisdom. Resh is wisdom. Why? Because it says Reshit Chochma Yirat Hashem. King David said in the Psalms, Reshit Chochma, the beginning of wisdom. Chochma, very important word. Chochma is wisdom. Kindness, chesed, that's another word. Wisdom and kindness, you can't have wisdom without kindness, right? Otherwise it's destructive. Vav means a hook. Connects heaven and earth, God and man. The Ein Sof down to the to us. It's really that's God's name. So there's 1, 2, there's Yud, He, Vav, and He. So the Tav, again, the last letter of Hitkabrut was a Tav again. Tav, the last letter of the 22 letters. And here's God's name, which was used to create the world. And so far we are here. The first aspect is right here. The second aspect is in He. Third aspect is the Vav. The fourth aspect is the He. We're struggling with struggling. We're trying to let's go. The somewhat convoluted expression here. I'm sorry, Rabbi Ashlag, you would admit full well that this is somewhat convoluted. So we're going to skip to the next page where he explains it a little better. Everything is in these four aspects. We could spend a month or a year even on these 4 aspects, but we're going to keep going. So
Do we have to?
Sorry?
We have to.
Ein Sof, Eser Sefirot or Yashar, the 10 Sefirot of the direct light. The 5, and there are 5 levels, one below the other. No, that's not the one. We're on page 44. And okay, on page 43 at the bottom. Hitkabrut, Gvurat, and Netzal, the Bechina Bet. What do we say strengthening translated as again? Yitkabrut was increase, right? Increase.
Increase, overcome, strengthen. Yeah.
Or overcome. In this sense, we're going to say that we said there's nothing joined together in the first aspect. It's just God's wisdom, the light, the wisdom of God's direct light coming from the infinite. Then there's being at this point. Then the second aspect is, we doesn't say here, but there's a God creates a will to receive that was subsumed within all that giving and of wisdom, of light, of bestowing. And then the will to receive has to concretize itself enough to give back. And so the light of the second aspect, what is the desire that it receives is the light of kindness. So once the light of kindness in the second aspect is from above to below. What kind of light is drawn in each aspect? The first light drawn in the first aspect is chokhmah, wisdom. Chokhmah? You with me, Eliakim?
Yeah, Bina.
Chokhmah. That's the light of wisdom.
Mhm.
Bina. Understanding. So there's the first aspect has the or, the chokhmah. The dalet is the Aramaic for shin. No, of, or shell. In Aramaic, it's of the light of chokhmah, or shell chokhmah. In Old Aramaic, it was just a dalet. Of, okay. That's the light of wisdom. Then, what do we got after that? Or the chasadim. Dalet, you want to, dalet. What's the next letter? Philippa, you know this one?
I'm sorry, I'm Jackie Bailey at the moment.
It's a chet.
What?
It's a chet. It sounds like this. Cha, like nacht. Like achtung. Like ach. Like ich. Like the Loch Ness. But my Arabic teacher was from Israel, and he was talking about the letter chet in Arabic, which is very soft. He says, but he's jumped up and down. This little Sephardi Israeli guy was like a great teacher in Boston University, Ibrahim Lavi, alav shalom. So Ibrahim Lavi. So Ibrahim, Jewish guy from Israel, he jumped up and down. He said, the German killed the Hebrew. The German language killed the Hebrew language. It's a sick joke. Okay, it's very black. I didn't get it for years. It was all the German language because the Nacht. The Ashkenazim were in Germany. The Ashkenazi Jews went 1,000 years ago. They went from Babylon to Germany, to Europe, right? And that's Yiddish started. So Yiddish is like medieval German. If you want to, the Goethe learned Yiddish so he could understand Old German. So, but okay. So then, the chet, it should in Sephardic pronunciation is soft. Chasadim. It's barely, it's a guttural in the back of the throat, but it's supposed to be soft. Chasadim. If that's kind, Hasadim, our kindness is. Chesed, grace or kindness. That's chet, samach dalet. Okay? All right, that's chesed. Anybody want to come into my room? Let's see. Nobody. Stop share for a second. Nobody else. Okay. Oh, it's already 3:30. How about that? So the second aspect draws the light of kindness from above to below. The third aspect goes further. The third aspect is called Zer Anpin. What does Zer Anpin mean?
Is you guys.
Eliakim, how do you translate Zer Anpin?
The six.
No, the
The
translation of the word Zer Anpin. Translation.
The face,
Which face?
the long face.
Zer Anpin is what? Sorry?
The long face.
No, that's Arich Anpin. Zer means small. Zeir. I think in Arabic is something like Zeir. Zeir. Zer Anpin is the small face. That's the third aspect, the Vav in God's name. What does it mean? Again, this is all the language of the branch language. It doesn't make in the Zohar, it's filled with branch language. You want to get to the Rav Ashlag wanted to get to the root language. So the Arizal helped, where he opened up all of the allegories of the Zohar and of the hiding of the language and the beautiful descriptions, stories and whatnot. And then he said, so the Arizal says, this is talking about the 10 Sefirot, or this is talking about the 4 worlds, which are only hinted at. And then he had a few, I forget, I think this Partsufim are discussed in the Zohar. Partsuf is a divine image. One of the Partsufim is called Zer Anpin, the small face, which is basically, could call it the groom, the son of Abba and Ima, of the father and the mother, in terms of the Partsufim. 5 Partsufim. Abba is father, Ima is the mother, Zer Anpin is the son, Nukva is the daughter. Nukva is also Malchut, sovereignty. Nukva means female. Zachar means male. So Zer Anpin is the male and Nukva is the female. It's also a bride and a groom, a son and a daughter, or a bride and a groom. Or perhaps and again, there's no taboo of incest in the upper worlds, just like in the monkey kingdoms have their own norms. Different societies and different species have their own norms. So if we talk about a zivug, a union, a coupling between different family members, so to speak, in the upper worlds, first because we're talking about zivug in terms of a concept, and it could be it's a physical union, not incest, but it could also be an emotional union as a zivug, and there's an intellectual union. Then you have to be all one. So we have the zivug of Zer Anpin and Nukva. There are various zivugim. And then those are because why? Those are, every Partsuf is like the tree of life. The tree of life meaning the 10 Sefirot arranged in the right, left, and middle columns, the triads, right? So you have a left side, right side, and a middle side, and it more or less represents a tree, and also it could represent the human body. So Zer Anpin is the third aspect, the Vav in God's name. And what does Rabbi Ashlag say about that? When Bina extends herself, spreads forth further, but however, the form of the vessel in Bina is in potential, all the while that she didn't hitgaber, increase the additional, increase more, is called Zer Anpin. When the light, again, Gimel, the third aspect, the essence of the, back up. Bechina Gimel, Bechina Dalet. Yeah, okay. This third and the fourth aspect. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, share screen. Felipe, you gotta learn these letters,
My head's like jelly at the moment. I really
No,
have.
I know, no, I understand, but you got a lot of time. I'm just saying, take your time, but one letter a day.
I
Okay.
can't even think, let alone concentrate at the moment. I'm trying my best.
Okay, so just go with the flow.
Okay.
Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet. These are the 4 aspects. And then we have Yud, A, Vav, He. Okay? So, again, the 3rd aspect is also drawing the light of kindness. But the essence of the way the light had promulgated from Bina, where it's still in the form of a vessel that it's included in a vessel in potential, it's hidden all the while that it doesn't increase anymore. That's called Zeranpin. Okay, and it's basically whatever was in Bina is in potential, is in Zeranpin, and wait a second. Back up. In Bina, the will of the light of kindness was all batel, it was all nullified because of the like a nair before a torch. But therefore, the light of kindness in Bina is still promulgated forth from Bina, and also increased to take more shefa, more abundance, to draw more abundance, more than its more than its level. So he wants more. So shefa.
It's flow, isn't it?
Yeah, flow, or plenty. God's plenty, God's abundance, shefa. Shin, fe, ayin. Shin, fe, ayin. That's a shin, a fe, and an ayin. Shefa. So that's abundance, plenty, or has to do with flow. Like flowing abundance, flowing like a cornucopia type of thing. I'm gonna recap now for the next, in 10 minutes, we're gonna finish. So if you could look at the clock and tell me when 10 minutes is up, because I'm in the state where I could just kind of talk for hours.
It's 32 here, so.
Okay. So first, that we said before, the first aspect in Bina. Bina has 3 aspects to it. The first is an increasing desire, an increasing will. And within that increasing will, revealed the source of a vessel of reception. So there was a change in form. They were dissimilar. That is to say, they did not resemble each other. And that's to say, because there's a thickness of, there was it was fat, as in opposition to the light of wisdom, meaning the God's light formed into a vessel. A vessel has to be thicker, more coarse than the light, right? And so that created a vessel, that second aspect in Bina is called Gevora Ila'a, the upper strength. The third aspect in Bina is the essence of the abundance of the shefa, which was awakening the will when she or her own will wakes up. The second aspect, when Bina's own will wakes up, What? She apprehends the shefa. She apprehends the shefa. When Bina wakes up, she manages to apprehend that shefa. Shefa is the same thing as light. There's a kind of light. Okay? Shefa and light are very, very similar. Light seems more spiritual than shefa. It's God's light, God's plenty, but they're all things that are bestowed, that are given. They're all from above to below, from the refined down to the coarse. It's nearness and farness. Again, that's the root language. The branch language is up, above. The root language, that's the branch language. The root language is refined. He is, the person is coarse. It doesn't mean his body is coarse. It means that his manner is coarse. It's more, it's like a spirit, it's again, we're trying to give human language to spiritual concepts. So the Arizal kept it hidden in, like we talked about in the very first class. Remember, Philippa? About hiding the Kabbalah in the language?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's thickness and width. And width, like wide, is actually, I learned last week, it's how much enjoyment there is, how much delight. Say the thicker, the more delight. The thinner, the less delight. So, wow. Again, this is all physical language to explain something a little above. Okay. So that's the second aspect of Bina, was increasing the will to the will, which revealed the root of the vessel, and in this way, in this sense, she has in such a way that she yeshba shinui tzora, that she changes form, meaning becomes dissimilar. What's totally subsumed in the bestower becomes the receiver. That's called shinui tzora, and that in other words, there's the chokhmah is refined, but in bina it's thicker. Aviyut, it's coarser, it's thicker. That's also branch. He's using branch language. Okay, fine. And that's called Gevora Ilah, upper Gevora. The third aspect in Bina is the essence of the Shefa, which Bina wakes up and apprehends. Her own will wakes up and apprehends that this light is called by itself. This light engenders its own name, and the name of the light in the second aspect is called what, Philippa? Or the Chassidim, the light of kindness. First aspect, light of wisdom. Second aspect, light of kindness. Third aspect, light of kindness. The fourth aspect is the light of wisdom again, the illumination of wisdom. So the kind of light we're talking about in the first aspect is wisdom. It's just all one, all wisdom, all giving. Second aspect, it becomes a vessel and draws from above to below the light of kindness. So we call it, why do we call it a different name? Eliakim?
Yeah.
It's less light.
Yeah.
So, remember that subject?
What?
Well, the subject of why we need to change the name for the light. So the difference between the light in the first aspect and the light in the second aspect.
Light of kindness.
It's still light. Why is it? Because I just receive from above to below, and then I yearn, and then I have a desire, and then it draws a different kind of light. because the vessel has changed.
Right.
The vessel, when the vessel is engendered, it desires and it draws another kind of light. This is the kind of light called chasadim because it wants to give back. The second aspect wants to give back. There's no wanting to give back in the first aspect. Okay, then the third aspect, Zeranpin, the small face. That's the ancient, the Zohar says Zeranpin, the small face. And he's gonna, we say third aspect. Zeranpin is a partsuf, meaning from the Greek word. Partsuf comes from the Greek. It's like the masks. It's also called a mask, like in the Greek theater. God has a mask of kindness. God has a mask of vengeance, so to speak. Same God, different masks. There's only one God with different ways to relate to the world, which brings us back to the beginning of the class. We're talking about the gods. We can't talk about God. We cannot talk about God in his essence, his infinity. We're only talking about God in terms of his attributes that he reveals in the world, such as mercy and compassion and jealousy and truth, that kind of thing. Vengeance, jealousy, right? And forgiveness and patience. These are God's attributes, as described in the Bible by Moses. God said to Moses. So the third aspect is the essence of the promulgation of the light that promulgated from Bina, where in that place, the form of the vessel is still included in potential, hidden all the while that it doesn't increase. Basically, Bechina Gimel is the third aspect. The Gimel is the second aspect on steroids. Is the exaggeration, but it's more. It wants more. It's even more than it wants even more light of chesed, but it's still in potential. It's not even potential until the fourth aspect, which is where the vessel called malchut or sovereignty. The vessel, that's the completed vessel of reception. Kli Kabbalah shenishlam b'ne'atzalahu. What's ne'atzal mean, Eliakim?
Means next to.
No, ne'atzal. Sorry, I didn't say it clearly. Ne'atzal.
The emanator.
No, you got to get this straight. Ma'atzil. We've gone over this many times. I have to be very patient. I got to be like God, which is erech hapayim. Erech hapayim means patient, right? So, but I'm only human. Aleph, aleph, aleph. So, ma'atzil. It comes from that's active. Ma'atzil is active. It means emanation. No, emanator. There's no English word for it, so we'll say emanator, similar to creator. So ma'atzil. So Philippa, there's a mem, and then after the mem there is a
Aleph.
And then
Ein. Yud.
okay, what you need next class, have the Hebrew letters in front of you with the names with the Hebrew letter and the English name.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So
No, you have it organized in front of you, and you just look at the letter, and then you look and you can find it. So the first letter is a mem, second letter is aleph, the third letter is a tzaddik, the fourth letter is a yud, and the last letter is a
Lamed.
Excellent. Ma'atzil, it means the emanator. It comes from the root etzel, which means near or by. Ani etzel Philippa. I'm at Philippa's place. Etzel means she Philippa, right? Je suis chez Eliakim is ani etzel Eliakim. It means near. It means noble. Atzil. Why Atzil? Because nobility, and why? How's that connected to emanation? Again, atzilut. Atzilut means nobility. Atzilut means nobility. God, Moses received nobility from God, and then Moses, it says in the Bible that he bequeathed that he'etzil min haruach asher alav, that Moses he granted the nobility of the spirit that was upon him in order to ordain the 70 elders. So ruach, let's say it was for light. Light, you ma'atzil, you emanate. In other words, that's the idea is the candle, and the one candle can light 1,000 candles, ad infinitum, right? And nothing is lost in the first candle. That's called lahatzil, to bestow, to bequeath, to grant. When I bestow, I give you something. I took my apple, I gave it to Philippa, and I no longer have an apple. When I say I'm making you a partner in the company. No, that's not. I'm giving you the same. When I teach you something, and I say teach you the word atzilut, nobility, then did I lose it? I gave it to you? No, I still have it, and I could teach as many persons as they have a brain in their head what the translation is atzilut and nobility. But in terms of Kabbalah, it means the world of completely undifferentiated will, from the word near the infinite. It's not infinite, but it's right near, right next to the infinite. It's the closest thing we can come. Okay. So what's ma'atzil? Elikim?
The emanator.
And ne'etzal is passive. When you have passive words, you put a nun. There's a nif'al. Nif'al is, in terms of Hebrew grammar, nif'al means a passive voice. Ma'atzil is Pa'il, maybe? I forgot the name of it. Okay, so again, in the third aspect is the spreading forth of the light from Bina, where it still has, in that level, on the third aspect, the light's still in potential, hidden, all the while it had not yet wanted more. That's called Zer Anpin, and when it really wants, and when it reveals the extra shefa, the additional shefa, it's called the vessel of Malchut. That's the fourth aspect, which is the vessel of reception, which is completed in the emanation, in the natsal, in the not emanation.
We've gone past our time, I'm just telling you so you know.
Okay, so ne'etzal is what is created in the passive voice, from the Lashon Atzilut, which has been bestowed in the passive voice. Okay, now kalul hu me'or v'kli. Now it's all including from light and vessel. The vessel is completed, and that goes out of the category